Oh no, he's frozen. Hello, we're back.
We're back.
And evidently
Mucho
the thunderstorm in McKinney has caused great consternation with the internet signal. So talk amongst yourselves until our fearless leader gets back. That couldn't have been frozen in a more appropriate place. I wonder, are we even on? Hey, Damien Hair Metal, are we on? Oh, yep, I see movement.
So do I.
Okay, man, all right.
This is going to be bad news.
And he freezes immediately.
Hey, you put it out in the universe, and guess what happens?
He wanted to talk about his visit with Slaughter and whatnot. So that's where we're going to go. But what episode are we on? Does anybody know?
181.
Right on. And we're basically going to be just talking metal. But he wanted to get into a bit of the Slaughter thing, which I'm hoping he'll unfreeze shortly and have less issues.
Well, speaking of Slaughter, there's a precursor story to that. If anyone's listening, please chime in if you're listening. Kelly, Damien, Hair Metal, Metal Overkill. I noticed that the Queen Stephra just texted me and said she's watching and probably having a good laugh. Okay, Damien Hair Metal says Slaughter, so obviously we're on. Hey, yeah, there's a precursor story to the Slaughter thing because many years ago, I did some artistic creativity for the Vinnie Vincent invasion, which is of course where I first met Mark Slaughter, Dana Strum, and at the time Bobby Rock, and so I was telling Rob that they were preparing to go out on the road with Iron Maiden and they needed merch, so we were coming up with bumper stickers. I did a T-shirt design for them, and
I think I have that T-shirt.
You probably do. I don't have one, and they were like football or their baseball jerseys, and they were kind of a fun thing to do. And then that is actually a mock-up of All Systems Go, and you see that handsome fellow in the background with no facial hair. But anyway, it was an interesting time. I had a baptism by fire into the music business on how all that goes. And they ended up, yes, I think, isn't that the first one? Yeah, that's all. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we're with Robert Fleischman. And then that's
right. With, yeah, they ended up taking out the window frame and omitting the guys and putting them on the back instead. And so anyway, but we had a metal meeting at Dana Strum's house in Canoga Park, California. Funny story. He was going to make lunch and barbecue some chicken, and we were out of lighter fluid. So it's obvious that he's done this before, but he used tequila to light the fire, and it worked great. And we sat around and shot the breeze and had a great afternoon of metal talk. And anyway, that was my first exposure to Slaughter. And as we all know, they moved on from the Vinnie Vincent debacle. But before I get too far down the road, speaking of the Metal Queen, she had a very successful surgery. She's home recovering and doing well, although she's feels like she's been in a napalm death mosh pit. And she's a little sore and tender here and there, but she's getting stronger and better every day. I actually had printed up some stickers that said, I support Steph. If anybody wants one, just hit me up and I would be happy to send them one. And I'm going to send one out. We have a GoFundMe thing that's still up, and everybody that's donated, I'll make sure you get stickers if you want one. So send me your addresses. DM me at Carcass John Art on Instagram, and I'd be happy to send one your way. But that's all I have. In fact, thanks to Brent of Ribcage, who also runs Accurate Sign in Mesquite. He knocked these out of the park. They look great. They're vinyl. And if you have any sticker or banner needs, that's a pretty good source right there. But anyway, so there's my shout out. How about you guys? Oh, wait. I see a wizard-like figure with glasses off to my right.
Hey, Rob, do we have a sponsor?
Yeah. Hang on, man. I'm pissed off about my internet service.
Didn't you upgrade?
He's got
Yes,
that
AT&T gigabit, man. Yeah, I'm a gigillionaire.
Oh yeah, and you're living like a pauper right now.
It's been nothing but trouble. Nothing but trouble. I had DSL before. We did the show on DSL. Never had any trouble, and this has been a complete shit show ever since I got it.
Oh, well, that's not a ringing endorsement. That's not a shout out.
It's gotten worse the more people have gotten on it in the neighborhood. Just worse. When I was one of the first half dozen people, man, it was lightning fast, literally. But this just sucks, man. I'd rather go back to DSL. At least it worked. Anyway,
was that all that destruction they were doing in your neighborhood along the streets and tearing up?
Yep.
And this is the result?
Well, it's gotten worse over time. I've had it for a few months and it's been fantastic, but it's just doing a slow nosedive into the, well.
It's a slow fade. I'd write my congressman. But anyway.
So where were we? My apologies.
I gave him the short blurb about my interaction with Mark Slaughter, Data Strum, Bobby Rock back in the oh gosh, I want to say early 90s. Whatever.
Oh, okay.
Whenever they were going to head out with Iron Maiden, Vinnie Vincent Invasion, that is, and that was my first interaction with them. I actually roadied some shows for them when they came as Slaughter, or no, it was Vinnie Vincent, I guess still, and I came to find out that that Vinnie he never even did his own sound checks, and that Mark Slaughter is a serviceable shredding guitar player, and I had no idea. I just thought he was a great voice, but man, that dude can play, and as a power 3-piece, it was amazing. So that was my favorite time of the day, once all the gear was set up, was to watch them sound check, and it was astounding how good they were. So anyway, that was my interaction with them. You got to hang out with them. When was that? Friday night or Saturday?
Friday night. I want to kind of reboot and go back to the front, if that's okay.
Sure.
So we're here on episode 181. Thank you for sticking around. It's been nothing but crapshoot to get my internet to work this afternoon. And I came flying in here 4 minutes before the show. And Scott's like, can you send a link, you jackwagon? So that worked out. But
those
anyway,
are backwards.
Yes. So let's round it out all the way back to the shout outs. I picked up Steve's Tactics box set.
Yes.
I've not opened it. The shrink wrap is still on it. I'm glad to have it. I did watch a video on YouTube, so I think I'm going to like what's in here, but I haven't opened it. Also, I received and have not opened yet.
Like Reverend and Metal Church and stuff like that.
The new Metal Church. Complete with all the Rat Pack Records goodies, stickers and guitar picks. And
now, is that the Metal Church version with Mark Lopez singing?
Yes, it is. This is the brand new album.
And how is it?
I haven't heard a note of it.
Because that guy's got a killer voice.
He's very raspy. Sounds a little bit like David Wayne at times.
I saw the video that they were promoting, and I liked the song, so I was like, okay, that's it. I don't want to hear anything else. I just want to get it. And so it came with the signed O card. We used to call that a slip case, but now I've been trained that it is an O card. Comes with a nice 4x4 the artwork, Rat Pack record sticker, VIP laminate recreation, Metal Church sticker. This is why I love Rat Pack so much. And a guitar pick. Can't see that. Anyway, so that's cool. So that's the stuff that I've picked up since we were last on. Who else had shout outs? Steve? Scott?
I mean, Gary says he can't read my shirt, but I mean, obviously it's of feather and bone. I mean, that's easy.
Okay, get closer.
I just gave you the answer, and you won't be able to read it. It's unreadable.
Actually, I can see it now that you said it, but before you said it, I couldn't see it at all.
Yeah, great band from Denver.
Who is
I mean,
it?
Of Feather and Bone.
Oh yeah, I wouldn't
Can
have
you read
gotten
my
that.
unreadable shirt?
I like it, and I have my. You can't read my shirt either.
Can you read the logo behind me too? Because
I can read your shirt.
I saw one of the greatest death metal shows I think I've ever
Is that Blood
seen.
Incantation behind you?
Yeah, Blood Incantation was with main support for Immolation and the Mighty Obituary, and man, it was absolutely crushing. Even the band, the first band, Ingrown from Ohio or Idaho of all places, man, all four bands just absolutely destroyed. I'm
Who was the
sorry,
headliner?
Obituary.
Okay. I thought you were saying Obituary opened.
No. Ingrown was the opener from Idaho, and then Blood Incantation, then Immolation, and then Obituary just absolutely freaking destroyed. That might be the most solid lineup up until when Toxic Holocaust and Havoc come raging into town in July, and we wreck our necks at that. That's another exciting one I've have targeted on my list, but anyway, I picked up all sorts of swag from those dudes. And you know, the thing about that I really love about Blood Incantation is this is their what is it? Time Wave Zero, which is a complete ambient album. It is really trippy. It's like almost like Osric Tentacles without a lot of guitars and fanfare. And
There it is.
but this thing has got killer production, 5 or 6 cameras, killer laser light show, and it's chill. It's what you'd want to listen to after a day that's like typical death metal day. This is what you'd want to listen to unwind. And they even had these killer VHS tapes that are actually a live show from their practice room. I don't know if you can see the picture there, but the sound quality is excellent. And if you've got a VCR, then you're in hog heaven. But anyway, it's what's that?
What's a VCR?
Yeah, I don't know what that is. Young for that.
Whatever.
I've got one right over there.
Yeah, I've got several. Duh. I had somebody ask me about laser discs the other day. What are
I
they?
use those to kill mice now. I take out the old VCRs
and just drop them on there. Yeah.
That's funny. I like it.
But anyway, so I mean, it's good to see that we're starting to see a lot more shows out, and I mean, there's a whole plethora of new shows coming this summer, and man, I can't wait for that Toxic Havoc show. Man, that's going to be off the hook, in my opinion. I mean, I don't know. Maybe Slaughter was better. I don't know.
Yeah.
I saw Toxic Holocaust last year, man. They blew me away how good they were. I didn't realize they'd been around for so long. They've been around for like 25 years.
Yeah, a little while now. Yeah.
I thought they had only been around for like 10 years. I was shocked when I saw that.
Well, he put out that Evil Never Dies when he was like 17 or 18.
Yeah,
and he's in his late 30s now. So Joel's been around a long time. And I think I saw somewhere where Charlie and Nikki may be playing with him again, but I haven't confirmed that. But that would be, that was my favorite lineup. No offense to any of the other guys that have played in Toxic Holocaust, but man, we all know Charlie Belmore, and his brother Nikki is a solid in the pocket drummer that does some crazy stuff. And to me, that's my favorite lineup. But either way, if he shows up with 2 guys off of Skid Row, and I don't mean the band, I mean off the street, I'm sure it's going to sound great. So already bracing for that, and neck bracing for that one.
Yes.
Gary Moore.
Yeah, there you go. Wow, that was a callback. Man, good one, Scott.
And Phil Lynott on the single.
Yep.
So let's kind of get into the show. I am so disjointed from our rocky start. I'm sorry about that.
Sploosh. That's awesome. Awesome single.
So what are we talking about first? The Slaughter BBQ?
Yes, talk about the Slaughter BBQ.
Okay.
Let's hear it.
Okay. So my buddy Richie owns Gracie Joe's Smokehouse, and that's a barbecue place up here in North Texas. He's up near the Red River, even farther north than I am. And so he's got a food trailer, and he caters, weddings and parties and bar mitzvahs and whatever you want, But what he likes to do is he likes to throw out an invitation to the bands that he likes to barbecue for them for free, and offers it up, through their management to the venue as, hey, I'll provide the catering for the night. And we've done that for the Winery Dogs and Armored Saint and Wasp and Creator, Sepultura, and Death Angel.
The Skull.
Last week, that was cool. And then on Friday, we went down to Cedar Park, Texas, which is outside of Austin, and he barbecued for Slaughter. Well, he knows a couple of the guys in the band now, or knows all the guys, but he has a couple of their numbers. And so sure enough, we went and did the thing. And man, it was really fun. It was at the Hot Spot down in Cedar Park, which is a killer venue. It's outdoors, but it's really nice. I typically don't care for the outdoor venue that much, but man, this place is super nice. They obviously put a lot of time and effort and money into making the place just gorgeous. And conveniently, my hotel was right across the street, so I didn't even drive my car to the venue. Walked over. The boys showed up about 4:00. They ate a little bit of barbecue, went back, and I suspect took naps because they had an early up the next day, very early up, 5:30, after playing a show, because they had to go play in Madison, Wisconsin the next night. But so they came in. All the guys were super, super nice. Their road manager, Jeff, rolled out the red carpet for us. The venue staff rolled out the red carpet, treated us like kings. And, of course, we took care of those guys and served them up some great food from Richie and Gracie Joe's Smokehouse. And so the show happened. They came on about 9:30. The opening band was good. I can't recall their name. Forgive me. But Slaughter came out and they just crushed it. And Richie looks at me during the show and goes, "Do you know that Dana Strum is 65?" And I was like, "What?" Because he was up there killing it like a teenager. And they were so good to Richie. They were so nice to him and so appreciative of what he did. They allowed us to watch side stage. They did invite us back to the green room, which is a house just off site where they can, have the whole house to themselves. And we did not do that. We stayed and held the food and tended that. But we got invited. But, we stayed around for that, and they came back and talked, and the show was absolutely great. They played about an hour, maybe a little over. Crowd was super into it. It looked like it was snowing. Mark Slaughter flung so many guitar picks. He gave Richie and I each a guitar pick, which was nice. I thought that was cool. And then everybody loved the show. They had some friends and family from the area, I think. I think Jeff Blando had some family from the area or something. There were a lot of people back in the backstage area, and they came and they demolished the rest of the barbecue and hung out and talked. And it was exactly like you would expect. It was just a lot of fun, a lot of cool people. It's still, I'm always going to be the teenager inside sitting there going, shit, that's Mark Slaughter. Oh shit, that's Dana Strum, But it was fun. A good time was had by all, and we got up and left. But one of the things that I noticed about their set list as I transition into our topic, and I will shut up and let you guys talk. One of the things that I noticed on their set list is they only played music from the first two albums. Well, I know why they did it, because they just released, well, first of all, those are the ones with all the hits. And second of all, they just released that big Wildlife box set. So they were supporting that. Totally understandable. What I was hoping that I would hear would have been all the hits and stuff that I wanted to hear, plus something maybe off of Fear No Evil or Back to Reality or whatever, and they didn't touch any of that. So one of the things that I tried to do on the Metal Rob show, which I'm on hiatus from at the moment, over on Deep Dallas Radio, we're broadcasting on their Facebook page. I talked to Brad today. We're going to continue broadcasting on Deep Dallas Radio's Facebook page. So all you guys tuning in on Deep Dallas Radio, thank you very much. Please subscribe to the channel and stay in touch with us. But one of the things that I like to do on my show, and Scott knows this and Carcass knows this, I really liked doing modern tracks from classic bands, meaning Slaughter kept putting out albums. Great White kept putting out albums. And some of Slaughter's best music is not on those first two albums. Their hits are, but some of their best music came later.
True.
So what I wanted to get into with you guys was, what are some of the modern songs and albums from some classic bands that you guys would want to talk about that maybe people don't know about? Because Slaughter's Eternal Live, fantastic. Fear No Evil, fantastic. Back to Reality is exceptional. And in the hair metal, if you want to call it that, I hate to lump them in. Tom Kiefer is putting out the best music of his career right now, in my opinion. I mentioned Great White. There's so many of those bands that Kansas, the last two Kansas records, holy crap. So I'm going to shut up and I'm going to let you guys take it for a minute, but just go around the horn and tell me what you think about some of the modern music from some of our favorite classic bands.
Well, I hear you loud and clear, and I maybe it's easier for the hair metal guys to do it over someone like, I was thinking in the realm of heavier stuff like death metal or whatever. But how long has Cannibal Corpse been around?
Mm-hmm.
A long time, and they're still putting out super high quality death metal. After seeing Immolation and Obituary, those guys have been around over 30 years, and they're still putting out brilliant new music. And to your point, when Immolation was playing, they kept playing new songs, and I kept thinking, well, they could take the easy route and just play Dawn of Possession start to finish and we'd be done. But
Right.
They were playing new songs and they all sounded great. Before the show, we were talking about about Toxic Holocaust, and already Joel's been around 25 years. So yeah. I don't know if that qualifies, and then certainly let's not leave out the big dog, the big purple dog, Deep Purple.
Oh my gosh.
50 years, and I think they are still putting out quality music.
I agree. Now, and I would argue with you that their last 2 or 3 albums are just about as good as anything they've put out. When you go song for song,
I think their last 2 albums are better than most of their 90s and 2000s albums for sure.
I agree. I will even go one further and say song for song, I like some of the modern albums better than the classic 70s albums. I know.
I don't know that I could go that far, only because I was born and raised on that stuff. But to your point, they are solid records, and wherein you see a major fall off with most bands. I mean, they might still be hanging around, but come on, man, Deep Purple.
These are also the albums that came out on my watch. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So I wasn't around for the 70s album. I mean, I was around, but I wasn't listening to it. I was a little bitty boy, So the ones that come out on my watch, they're more near and dear to my heart.
Sure.
Gary Ayrton talks about, even though he's a Philly fan, a stinking Eagles fan, we still love you, buddy.
We won't hold that against him. At least while we're on the show.
Blue Oyster Cult. That's the best album of their career, in my opinion.
I think you're right.
It's their best album since '81 for sure.
Yeah, and he also talks about the new Heaven's Edge. It is fantastic. So good.
Well, not just that. I mean, even look at Judas Priest's last album. That's their best. I'd say that's a top 5 album from them.
100% correct. I agree. Yeah, keep going. I'll go all day if you don't stop me.
Well, I mean, to your point, I guess if you're good, and especially, I mean, I think that the problem with modern bands with an old name, like let's say Grand Funk Railroad, no offense to them, but they've been through so many personnel changes. It's really not. It's kind of like when I saw Boston. Yeah, they sounded like Boston because of Tom Scholes, but there wasn't one person in that band that was with the first 2 or 3 records. I mean, it's just not the same. It's not the same band, and I think that whole vibe is hard to translate into something that sounds amazing. Here's one too, Styx.
Yeah, that Styx album was. I haven't liked the Styx album since the early '80s. Now
They
great.
and they have been through some personnel changes too, but I guess they're the ones that I just contradicted myself because I love the new Styx, and I like them a lot better than I did with Dennis DeYoung. Unfortunately, I thought the new vocalist is kind of like the Journey thing. I think he's better. I think Arnel Pineda is better than Steve Perry. I'm just gonna say it. I think he's got.
Well, I always preferred the Rolly era of Journey before Steve was in the band,
and we could go there too.
Yeah.
But obviously, they wanted to sell records, and
Oh,
Steve
yeah,
Perry was Steve Perry was the guy that helped them do that, but who basically resurrected the band was Arnel Pineda, and their albums are still good.
Yeah, to answer Gary a minute ago, Slaughter does not have new music out as far as I know. But what my point about that was, even if these bands haven't put out music, I mean, gosh, we're getting old and our bands are getting old. But the thing is,
thank you.
They kept putting out music 20 years past their prime, if you want to call it that. And so go back and look through that late Great White catalog. Skid Row never stopped putting out albums. It would be a long time between, but the new one with Eric Gronwall is a 10 out of 10.
I think it's okay. I don't think it's near as good as the first two.
Oh my gosh. I think it's I think it's definitely as good as Slave to the Grind. I think it's better than Subhuman Race.
Oh, I think Subhuman Race sucked, but I love the first two. But Fraser mentioned some good ones too. Yeah, Saxon hasn't put out a bad album. Saxon's been steadily putting albums for 40 years now.
Oh yeah, see, there's another one. Yeah,
Scorpions just put out their best album since 1985.
Correct.
It wasn't that. What was that one where you said you thought they'd been abducted by aliens and they came down and AI'd a record and then put them back on planet Earth?
Was that
what album was that?
Was it I?
Yeah. So that we have, well, that'll be the exception to the rule. But I listen to the new Scorpions. It's not bad. I like it. Now, will it be? Is it Love Drive? No. Is it Lonesome Crow? No. But
you're talking about 40, 50 years between those albums,
Right.
Yeah, but I haven't liked anything the Scorpions have put out since like 87, and I really liked that new album.
Oh man, so you didn't like Unbreakable or Humanity Hour 1? Oh
No,
man,
I didn't like any of those.
When was Animal Instinct?
That was the last one of theirs that I really liked.
Yeah, that was a good record.
No, I was after that because when was Animal? That might have been 89. I can't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember either.
But to Rob's point, they just kept putting out records, despite the fact that we were all stuck on "Rock Me Like a Hurricane" and "Love Drive" and
a great
whatever.
example is Alice Cooper. That Detroit Stories?
Yep.
Where he goes back to the 70s glam. Dude, that album is so good. I
haven't heard it.
That. No, it's the best album he's done since the 70s. It's great.
Well, see, and this goes to another point that I want to make. I can't stand, even though I won't say that. I listen to a lot of rock radio still, but I can't stand the fact that you're going to get the same damn bands. Guns N' Roses.
Oh, yeah.
AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, And it's just like, shoot me now. I mean,
but it's not even the best songs from those bands that you're going to get on the radio either.
No, it's the overplayed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm so sick of it. And I hate the fact that in the United States, there's not live rock radio, and I would stream it. I want DJs picking the music and showing me this is the new stuff that I want to hear. And my goal in life, I don't know if I'll ever get to do it, but my goal in life is to figure out how to get on FM radio in Dallas without buying a station, which I can't do, and putting FM rock radio back on the air with DJs that pick the music, and they play new songs along with the other stuff.
Well, to your point, I've got trunk loads and boxes full of tapes. We used to do mixtapes for our friends, and in fact, Rob Doom down in Houston, I still pull some of those tapes out and listen to them. But he, there was like an era of Yes that I just stopped listening after a certain point. I never listened to Go for the One or Relayer or Tormato. I just, for some reason, those just didn't resonate with me. And he put a track from Go for the One on there, and it caused me to go back and reflect on those. And Yes, as Frazier has mentioned, is still putting out their new record is really quite good.
Fantastic. I was because I didn't like the last two albums, and I really like the new one.
Yeah, it's like they finally hit another gear or something. And but I like the fact that they can recover from all this experimentation. To your you had mentioned Creator and having the experience of hanging out with Mila and those guys. It's interesting that they kind of went through this weird experimental stage, just putting out records. They kept putting out, and no, it's not Terrible Certainty, and no, it's not Endless Pain or Flag of Hate or whatever. But then all of a sudden, we get Extreme Aggression, and then we get the new one that sounds a lot like the old stuff.
Right. But here's the thing. But put a song from Indorama on the radio and let people decide.
Yeah.
Well, even the bands. So, you mentioned Cinderella. The stuff from Still Climbing. Yeah. The stuff from Still Climbing, the stuff from Heartbreak Station.
Yep.
Where it's more bluesy Aerosmith sound. I think that blows away their first two albums.
I like the first one's always going to be my favorite.
I like them too, but
but you're exactly right. It's great music that got largely overlooked because the scene was going away, rock radio was changing. But I'm telling you, Tom Kiefer is putting out the best music of his career right now. That album Rise is fantastic. He's got a song on there called The Death of Me. And the album's a few years old. I think it's been out for 4 or 5 years maybe by now. But the song The Death of Me, they would have played the shit out of that thing back in the day. And it's just ignored. And I don't understand why. Is that getting played on satellite radio, XM, Sirius? I don't know.
Satellite radio has turned into regular corporate radio. Satellite radio used to be really good, and you'll hear the same thing every 45 minutes now, no matter what station you're on.
I hate that, and I don't know how to fix it.
And that's why you trade mixtapes or mix CDs with your friends.
See, Scott will agree with you, Fraser, about King's X, but I don't. I actually haven't liked King's X since
Dogman.
Was it Mr. Bulbous?
Probably maybe Bulbous. Yeah,
it was either Mr. Bulbous or the one right after it. I haven't liked any of
Moonlight.
Yeah, whichever one. Yeah, those two were the last two that I really liked from them.
Well, and here's the deal. This is what I like about the Crypt.
Yeah, that was before.
I on Deep Dallas Radio. No. I have an opportunity to play stuff that you are not going to hear anywhere else, and some of it is deep tracks. Some of it's I play Obituary. I've played a Cannibal Corpse song, but they're not going to be what you can listen to, what everyone thinks of when you think of Obituary or Cannibal Corpse. And then I'm going to play Of Feather and Bone, and I'm going to play obscure stuff because as Motorhead Derek in Houston said, I want you to educate me. I want to hear something I've never heard before so I can go, whoa, what was that? Now I'm interested, and it piques your interest, and then they go hunting.
Yeah, and there is so much. I want to call it throwback. I don't want to call it nostalgia metal. I'm talking about modern bands doing classic sounding music. Nitrate is doing, hard rock AOR that is awesome. Skullfist is doing killer 80s style traditional metal.
Oh,
that Fear Not album, Fields of Sorrow, is that right?
Yep.
Oh my gosh, that is a
amazing.
slamming 80s.
Well, isn't Stone Trip kind of a throwback era? But they're a modern band with a lot of older players with a lot of vintage experience, and they're playing old time rock and roll in a modern setting.
Yeah.
There's one.
Here's a great example of, man, their last 2 albums have been killer.
Yep.
Amazing.
Actually, not even their last 2. Every album since this album
pretty much
has been.
And see, and that's the other thing. So Raven, maybe people universally decide that didn't belong on daytime FM rock radio. Okay, great. So from 8 to 10 on Saturday night, let's get those shows back up and running. It drives me freaking crazy.
Well, what's sad about Raven? I mean, Raven, when they play festivals in Europe, but here in the U.S. where they live now, there's maybe 10, 15 people at their shows.
They play the Boiler Room or the Rail Club in Fort Worth.
They're fast. They're playing faster now than they did in 1982.
Right.
I mean, it's insane. I mean, they've got the Fear Factory drummer. And he sped them back up because their old drummer was starting to slow down with the music, and they're playing some of the fastest stuff they've ever played.
Yeah, I saw them last year. They were incredible.
Oh my god, it's so good.
Oh,
but they were incredible.
Yeah, Damien Hair Metal. That's a perfect example of classic sounding music from a modern band. Hardcore Superstar. Man, those dudes are good. So good. And I don't know, it's probably just good old days syndrome, but I need to figure out how to carry the flag into battle for modern metal, brand new stuff, and the classic albums, or the modern albums from the classic bands. And it's frustrating. I don't know how to get it done. I'm losing sleep over this shit.
Slow down there, big fella.
Well, this one, it's not the band, but Dee Snider's last couple albums have been really killer too.
Crushing.
Better than everything but this one from Twisted Sister for the most part.
Absolutely right. It's heavy and it's so good.
Yeah.
These guys were.
Yeah, Leave a Scar that's at least an 8 out of 10 album.
Oh, I agree. And when you're seasoned like these dudes are, man, and you've got the Belmore brothers in your band, powerhouse in that thing.
And Nick Petrino and whatever. I mean, you're talking about an all-star. I mean, those are basically the same band that's Ripper, that's doing the new Ripper Owens. And I don't know. I think it's great that guys like Dee Snider and whatever are still at the forefront, and they're not afraid to play those old songs.
Well, Ripper too. What was it, that album he did with Tourniquet? I mean, sadly, we lost what's his name? We lost Ted, so we didn't get the new album that they were working on. But man, he completely rejuvenated Tourniquet with that album, because Ted had gone like that weird direction with what was it?
Very, very proggy.
No, not even that. The whole topic.
Oh, the animal rights stuff.
The animal rights stuff, and was bringing in all these crazy artists. And he put together a really good band with Ripper, and it was fantastic.
So I want to hear more about something that you guys mentioned earlier. I had no idea that Styx was making new music. See, to proving the point that we're talking about. Tell me more about Crash of the Crown.
I personally don't know about that, the newest record, but the previous one, I actually saw them on tour with that, and they were touring with Foreigner, who, there's another one that are still putting out music, and it may not be, head games or whatever, but it's still, quality music. But Dennis DeYoung for Styx they either departed him or he has departed and he's not coming back. Evidently, Tommy Shaw is not going to allow that.
It's just heavier. It's more of it's got more of a progressive hard rock sound to it.
If you go back to their early Nickel Records days,
exactly,
that's exactly what they were. Heavy keyboards,
kind of like
heavy twin guitars.
Like Man of Miracle when they started going from the hard rock into adding in the prog a little bit. And it's not exactly that sound. It's obviously a more modern version, a more polished version of it. But man, it was really good. I was blown away.
Oh, okay. So these guys have got. So which is the album you were talking about? Were you talking about the same Stardust EP or the Mission, or which one was it?
The Mission. Hang on, I'm looking it up because I'm GTSing. I'm Googling that stuff.
Yeah, I thought Steve had mentioned one in particular earlier.
Yeah, the Yes is really good too.
Nearer to the Sky, it's the newest album.
Oh no, I didn't even see that one. That's brand. They've got a brand new one out.
Look at the price on the sucker.
Yeah, their last one was like that. It was $40 new, and then wait like a month, and it'll be like $25. I don't know why they're doing that shit.
Amazon. So we're all shopping for music while we're on the show. I love that.
Wow. It says Crash of the Crown is the 17th studio album by Styx.
Yeah,
and but that was released in 21.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm all about checking that out. But
dude, I'm telling you, and the one before that, I think it's called The Mission. I think you're right. It's got the turntable tone arm down there, and it looks like a ship or something. I saw them on that tour, and that record sold me on going out and buying the record. I mean, it's that good, and I just shook my head the whole time, thinking, man, this is what I've always. I don't want Origato, Mr. Roboto. That's crap to me. That's where they completely lost me.
That's where they lost me. I liked every album before that, but the Wood Nickel stuff has always been my favorite.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm into the heavier side of things, and I, I had interaction with Tommy Shaw when I was 14 years old, and I always knew that guy had a heavy aspect to him, and but even the Equinox, all the way back to Equinox and Crystal Ball and Grand Illusion and Pieces of Eight, man, Pieces of Eight is one heavy record. Beware the Queen of Spades. Go listen to that and tell me that's not a heavy song. But now they've harkened back to that same heavier sound with a more modern twist to it.
Okay.
What's funny about Styx is I think every single one of my Styx albums I got for $1 in like thrift stores and dollar bins, and now they're like $20, $30 records.
Yeah.
Here's another one though. He never stopped putting out killer music. All through the 90s, he was putting out good albums. And all anybody ever talks about is these first few, though.
Yeah. Well, and Babylon is great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Is that was the last one, right?
Yeah. Hopefully his new tour kind of rejuvenates him a little bit and he starts writing again, because that's been that's got to be like 7 or 8 years now.
I'm looking forward to the new Dark Angel, too. I'm expecting that to rip our heads off.
Well, you saw him live, Scott. Is it going to rip our heads off?
They were incredible live. I mean, absolutely tore that place apart.
Gene Hoglan's a perfectionist, though. They wouldn't have taken the stage if they weren't on point completely.
And another one, Evil Dead. Their last album was fantastic from just a year or two ago.
Yeah.
And they're working on a new album as well. There's been a bunch.
Forbidden is resurrecting again for the second time. And I kind of look forward to it. It doesn't have Russ Anderson, so that's going to be a morbid curiosity for me. But the band itself is fairly intact. And when you have guys like Greg Lociero and Matt Camacho and Paul Bostoff, I mean, you're going to get something that's pretty good, I would guess. I guess.
Well, I just wanted to wave the banner today for for modern tracks from, modern albums and music from classic bands, because I just feel like it's a gaping hole in the music industry, and everybody's talking about, the music industry's going down the tank. What is that?
The newest Candlemass.
See?
Oh, wow.
Didn't even know.
How about Accept?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's another one. Yeah. But there's just this gaping hole in the music industry. Oh, my gosh, the music industry is going down the toilet. Well, how about you refresh it by playing something that's not 35 years old?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much music out there. So for the internet,
the sad thing is a lot of these bands, because of the record labels, are only selling maybe 10 or 15,000 physical copies at the same time selling out stadiums and amphitheaters. You know what I mean?
right. Yeah. And everybody only wants to hear the classics, but there's so much overlooked music. There are so many overlooked bands. And
to your point, Rob, doesn't radio create expectation? And if we're hearing songs that we never heard before, that we don't hear every 15 minutes, we're going to be anticipating hearing that stuff played live. And I mean, bands have more than one hit. Let's face it. And unfortunately, the model in old radio terms, I can remember working at KZFM, rocking the 4 states back in the early 80s. I was like 6, I think, when I was working at the radio station back then. But anyway, they said play anything you want. And I spent most of the evening, I did a 10 to 6 shift because there's just 2 of us. And I played everything that I wanted. I had to write it all down. And the guy from ASCAP or BMI would come by and he'd say, well, why did you play Kings and Queens by Aerosmith? That's not the hit song that we're promoting.
Because it's a great song.
So I'm playing what I want. And people, I would spend half my evening on the phone with people saying, what was that you just played? I mean, we have never heard that. And I'd say, it's on this album. And they'd go, really? Because remember the days of 8 tracks where the 2 best songs were on track 1 and you had 4 tracks and people would just hit repeat and have Aerosmith, Toys in the Attic, and whatever, and they didn't even dig deep into Uncle Salty or one of those other songs. So the problem, I think, here, in my opinion, my humble opinion, is that radio creates anticipation, but they're stale. It's a sterile format now. No wonder nobody listens.
Gary mentions bands only make money from touring. The record labels and the venues are doing everything they can to stop that right now. Bands are getting screwed so bad live. I just saw a huge. The venues are taking 20% of their merch. If they go through Ticketmaster, Ticketmaster takes a piece of their merch. I mean, they're making less and less for the door. The bands are getting screwed, right? How many major bands have canceled European tours because it would cost them thousands of dollars to do the tour? It's getting insane.
When I was booking shows, if I wanted a band to come play in whatever venue, my living room or whatever, they knew they were going to get a guarantee up front. Yeah. And I wasn't going to take their merch. I was giving them the opportunity to make a living. And it's no different than I'm in the landscape business. If nobody gave us a chance to come plant trees and mow their yard, we don't make any money. But that's what the labels are doing. They're taking away their ability to make money. They're basically saying it's going to cost you to play live and do what you have to do to sell records.
Tables, they're not making 100% profit from the merch table because they have to pay for the merch to start with. So they're losing. That's 50% that they don't get off the top, and now they have to give 25% of that 50 that they have left to the venues. I mean, it's insane what's going on.
The fact I can't even imagine having the balls to ask a band for 20% of their merch. I can't even imagine putting that in a contract. I don't own it. I had nothing.
Not really a new thing, though. It's been around for decades.
Well, and they said it's gotten worse because now a lot of venues aren't selling out the way they used to, and so now they're trying to take more of the merch table as well.
Well, how about not charge $80 a ticket, and how about have a good venue that's clean, that has a restroom that works, and how about it takes, as Poser Mark in Houston would say, it takes quality to get quality. And to your point, Rob, about the venue in Cedar Park, of course bands are going to want to play there if it's as beautiful as you say it is, and people are going to want to go there because they're going to feel safe, it's going to be accommodating, and it's going to be a nice place to see a gig.
And the venue staff was on point. on point. They did not whip the guys' asses. But they were there. They were right there ready to take care of whatever needed to be taken care of. And it was so professionally run that it was awesome, man. It was really cool to see. And Slaughter did bring T-shirts. I'm curious, man, I'd be curious to know if the venue got a cut of that.
Well, even one of the guys from Carcass was talking about it, where he just did a thing the other day where he said almost every spot in the U.S. tour they had to give up like 10% of their merch, and he's like, we're not an American band, we're getting screwed here,
Right?
Why would they want to play here when they can do festivals in Europe where they're getting a big chunk of change and making a lot more from merch?
Right.
They come here and play smaller venues
and not having to travel.
Yeah,
8 hours one way.
Yep.
I mean, the reason Raven can do small shows here is because they live in South Carolina now.
Something like that, yeah.
They live right up the road, so they can come down to Atlanta and do a show for 20 or 30 people and still make a couple bucks, mostly from merch. But
yeah. Well, circling all the way back around, the Slaughter gig was really cool. That was a lot of fun. What else did we talk about? Yeah.
So what? Wait. Before you move away from Slaughter, what was their set list? Or what are the highlights of their set list? I don't expect.
They played Eye to Eye. They played a bunch of stuff off the first album.
I would bet it's probably this album as a whole for the most part.
It was a lot of that. They played a lot of stuff off the second album too, because that's what they're out promoting, that box set. But
the box set's been delayed like 6 times now too.
I really like the album Revelation that they did.
I didn't like that one very much.
Yeah,
I didn't like it as much, but they haven't really had
a huge 70s sound to it, kind of big T-Rex influence on the whole thing.
We were talking about him earlier, though. He's one guy that, I mean, how old is he now? He's got to be in his late 50s at least. He might be in his 60s as well. But everybody I know that's seen him said that I've never heard of him having a bad show. Everybody that I know that's seen him has talked about how great he sounds.
Oh, and his attitude was just stellar. So many people were coming up to him. Can I get a picture? Can I get an autograph? And he was so gracious. And it felt to me like what was processing inside his head was, I am so lucky that people are still asking me for my autograph and a picture.
I met him 10 years ago, and he was the same way back then. I mean, funny thing is, I handed him the Vinnie Vincent CD to sign that he sang on, and he actually got a big old smile on his face. He goes, "Wow, you're an old fan. Most people don't even know I was in this band anymore." So, he was really nice when I met him. So, didn't get to meet I got to meet the rest of the guys in the band.
I showed Mark the pictures that Carcass has of some mock-up stuff for the. Did you already talk about that?
Yeah, we showed that initially. I didn't have a picture of the picture of Mark and Bobby Rock standing on the rail with the mountains in the background. And I've got some other ones. I actually have a picture of Dana pouring tequila on the fire. But anyway, you know what? They're just regular guys. But they're still doing that. That's the thing. That's the thing I love about this topic is those dudes that loved doing music back then are still loving it and putting out music today. And I think that's why they're succeeding, because they still have a passion for the music.
I mentioned the band that should not be mentioned, but they are putting out really good music these days still, is Striper.
You're probably right.
I don't disagree with you. That show that they did at the Whiskey kind of brought me back to the fold. I thought those dudes can still hammer it out. They're great. Now, all the personal stuff aside, we don't need to rehash that. Because I know Rob loves to talk about that.
Oh, I'll jump right into it.
And we won't.
Funny enough, we were talking about it like 2 hours ago, unrelated to any of this.
But the bottom line is,
I was mentioning I pre-ordered that last album and I still haven't listened to it because of all that stuff.
Oh man.
Because I pre-ordered it before all that stuff happened. So anyway.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is it's good that there are still our favorite bands from our youth. I won't say childhood. I don't know that I was ever a child, but anyway, but they're still putting out good music, and I think that's great. I mean,
but not always is true though. There are a lot like, I mean, one of my favorite bands is Aerosmith, and their last studio album was horrendous. Just a total train wreck. I love Ted Nugent, but his last couple albums.
Look at that! I just happen to have it right there.
There you go.
Shocking.
I mean, there's a few good songs on it. I'm not saying it's, but overall, it's just not a good record.
I've had that for 7 years. It's still sealed.
Same thing, like I said, Ted Nugent. His last album was good, but I mean, he's not really released a great album since. I'm trying to think of the name of the one with the guy with the spear on it. Come on here, help me out.
Something.
Oh, Call of the Wild.
Crave Man, thank you.
Crave Man, thank you.
Yeah. And then the follow up was great too, but after that, it's been kind of But I think a lot of it too is you think like Metallica is another good example. The latest Metallica album, it's okay, but I can't imagine if they would have gotten someone like Andy Sneap into the mix to help them pare down those overly long tracks that need to be pared down and got them to just focus and have the best tracks on. It could have been a smoking album.
What about Whitford St. Holmes that put out a great album in 81 then disappeared for 40 years?
Yeah.
Put out a great album in 2017 and disappeared again.
How about this thing? This is fantastic. But
I've heard about that. Who is that again?
That's Richie Faulkner.
Oh, that's right.
Now, if you like, this is not Judas Priest or speed or thrash metal. This is more along the lines of what Chris Manning is doing, that kind of straightforward guitar-based hard rock stuff, but is really, really well done.
Well, and thank God for Chris too, because he's got that dude from Pistols at Dawn singing on his stuff, and it's
amazing.
Killer.
His new album
is killer.
It will be one of my favorite albums of the year.
Yeah,
what about
hard
what
rock.
about the new Megadeth? The last two Megadeths have been insane.
Yeah,
too.
they've been really good. Yep.
How about Overkill?
The last two Overkills have been fantastic.
How about Sammy Hagar? I'm surprised that wasn't Papa Wayne, Damien Hair Metal. Sammy Hagar. I saw him live, and he played basically a song off of everything he's ever touched, including Montrose, Van Halen, and his solo stuff. And that dude was killer. And I was thinking about his guitarist. How impressive is that you have to be Neil Schon, Eddie Van Halen, Joe Satriani, and Sammy Hagar and Ronnie Montrose, and yet the guy pulled up. It was like no big deal. And didn't he play in the Bus Boys or something? What's his name? But anyway,
yeah.
Well, I wasn't a fan of it, but Tesla just put out that new album that everybody seems to love as well.
I haven't heard it.
I didn't like it, but everybody else seems to disagree with me.
The last few UFO albums have been really good too.
I haven't heard them.
There's another one still putting out music. Well, until now, I guess they're officially retired. UFO.
Who knows? So. Every time you hear about a band retiring, and did the Scorpions retire like 10 times already? Ozzy retired about 20 times. There's another guy. Ozzy, I'd put him in an opposite category. His music has gone way downhill in the last couple of years.
How about Kiss?
Well, they haven't put out a new record in 20 years, so
and they're not going to because they.
When did Monster come out?
Oh my God, that had to be what, 2008 something.
Oh,
I may be wrong. I thought it may have been earlier than that though. I don't know.
Oh, GTS. Go ahead, Scott.
Right on.
Look it up.
Or you got Motley Crue, who's put out a bunch of shitty albums in the last. Actually, their last album was really good.
Saints of Los Angeles.
Yeah, that was a great album.
But that was Karabi singing, wasn't it?
No, that was Neil. They went back to the sleaze sound of like girls on that one.
Yeah, and it was really good. Hey, before we start wrapping it up, I do want to talk about a couple things that we need to talk about. First of all, I want to thank Brad Amos at Deep Dallas Radio for letting us broadcast on his Facebook page. He's got tons of followers. That's where Carcass does the Crypt every Friday from 6 to 7 p.m. exclusively on Deep Dallas Radio. I'm going to be on hiatus for a while, so you will hear some reruns of the Metal Rob Show. But guess what you're going to hear on there? Modern tracks from classic bands and brand new hard rock and heavy metal. So if you want to hear a few of my rehashed shows, Brad's going to be spinning some of those. Fridays from 5 to 6 p.m. for the foreseeable future. And then check out Carcass on the Crypt, featuring all that super headbanging, gurgling and gargling, as the poser
And
says.
my set list will contain no hit songs, only songs that hit back.
That's right. But we also do have a sponsor now, MediaTek. If you go to mediatek.edu, you can sign up for classes in Houston or Dallas for all things video production, audio engineering. If you're interested in that kind of thing, they can definitely hook you up. And I'm going to present their commercial right now because that's what we do. So right at the end of the show here, check it out. It's MediaTek. Let's watch this real quick.
I'd say here the advantage is the teachers. The advantage is that they work in this industry every day. And they have been for 30, 40 years, some of them. I myself have been doing this for over 30 years. And I think that's the advantage. We know how to teach people how to do things, and better than most, if you're just a teacher and not in this industry, I think that's the immediate advantage is just the personnel we have here, period. They're veterans.
There you go.
And by the way, shout out to Kerry Crafton, who's part of the MediaTek family over there. He just had a birthday, and he's an older guy like me. In fact, I'm not. If he and I are in the room together, I'm the young buck, and he's not.
Yep.
So, but
Yep.
Shout out to Kerry. He's done some amazing things in the industry, and he is a wonderful person, and I'm sure it would be a great teacher.
Yeah,
But,
and Sterling, that's in the commercial, produced some of the Pantera records, engineered some of the Pantera records, some of the bigger, what am I trying to say? Not the indie albums, not the independent albums. He did some of the later stuff, and it sounds fantastic. So check those guys out if you're interested in anything like that in Dallas or Houston.
Didn't Sterling do a little thing for Chris Manning as well?
He did. He mixed a song on the new album. Monster came out in 2012.
Yes.
So,
Cool.
Kiss has been too busy retiring on their doing the retirement tour, their final tour forever for the last 8 years.
Actually,
So,
right.
or 9.
But they've been doing it. They've been releasing these live box sets of past tours and making a killing off of them.
Yeah.
And they sound great.
Which is brilliant. That's a genius idea. But you guys got any parting shots before we wrap it up?
Nope.
No, I mean, I don't. I think hey, let's start a radio station. Who's in? We'll do a GoFundMe and start a radio station.
I'm telling you, if I had the cash, if I won the lottery, I would be standing on the doorstep of the FCC or whomever, and I would be buying a Dallas radio station tomorrow. I don't care if I didn't make a nickel.
Real quick, Gary makes a good point there. A lot of these bands are putting out such good music now because they're not getting pressed by the labels for a certain sound.
That's true.
Or to just crap out another record just because they need another record like every 8 months.
Or add this hit song to your record that's going to destroy your career.
Right.
Yeah, Billy Squire.
Or make you drink yourself to death.
Yeah, no doubt.
Way to go, Turbo Lover. Hey, I do want to shout out everybody that donated to the GoFundMe for Steph. Like I said, she's very appreciative. She left a comment in there. I know she's sincere. Hit me up for a sticker if you want one. I've got 100 of them. And I appreciate everybody's benevolence, patience, et cetera, et cetera. It's been a bumpy ride, but smoothed out by true friendship and family. So thanks so much.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for the update. And I also heard from Con Bats from Stone Trip.
Oh,
he
yeah.
is home, recuperating, doing well. It was a bumpy ride home, which I think was uncomfortable for him. But I had heard from his sweetheart that everything was cool, and they posted about that on Facebook as well. And Con even messaged me a couple times thanking us on the show for, supporting and sharing the GoFundMe and all that kind of stuff. So he's recuperating and on the road to recovery. So with that,
Stone Trip.
Let's sign this bad boy off. And I'm so sorry for the bumpy road. The the reboot seemed to help. There was a couple of hiccups throughout the show, but I think I'm glad we made it. That was a bad start.
We need to go to MediaTek and learn how to do this a little bit better.
Yeah.
Right on, guys.
All right, boys, you know how we do it for episode 181. I am Metal Rob, saying on behalf of Carcass John and Steve, Harmless Rebel, and Scooter Waters, until next time,
Metal will prevail.